Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
And a Launceston man has been granted bail after being charged with multiple fraud-related offences today. Police springing on Kane Dallow in an early morning raid at his home.
Moments after being released from custody, Kane Dallow takes aim at the police. Why were the police at your house this morning, Kane?
Because we ran a story on Friday night, so maybe look into that. That's what you should be looking at, the allegations of police and rape allegations against somebody in custody.
The man who fronts as a journalist for Tas News 24 is no stranger to being in front of camera, but his own conduct is now under the lens of authorities. A lengthy charge sheet including multiple counts of stealing, forgery and attempted fraud offences. Are you going to be defending the charges? Police today raiding his Lagana home, collecting bag after bag of evidence for close to 4 hours. But our presence wasn't taken kindly to by Dallow's visibly agitated husband.
Nothing to see here, dude. Get off. Seriously.
Why are the police here?
Why are you filming me?
We want to know why the police are here.
None of your business.
Neighbours have told us police swarmed the address of Kane Scott Dallow shortly after 8 a.m. this morning, before he was promptly arrested and led away. He was released under strict bail conditions. He'll next front court in July. Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
6 cars and more than 30 sets of keys have been stolen during a brazen raid in and around the Launceston General Hospital. Police have arrested 2 people, including a teenager, but are still chasing more suspects. Our reporter Tom Johnson has more.
The LGH was a hotbed of high-powered crime overnight when thieves stole 5 government-owned vehicles from the hospital, along with a privately owned vehicle parked here on Franklin Street. Police say the thieves managed to steal the cars by breaking into a security box where more than 30 sets of keys were also taken. A teenager and a 24-year-old man from Lagana are now in custody.
We believe there are 1 or 2 offenders still outstanding, and investigations are being conducted at the moment to identify those offenders.
As part of that search, police took to the air, taking off from Launceston Airport and flying to St Helens to track down the suspects. Police have now recovered all of the stolen cars, including this Hyundai, which was dumped in St Helens after trying to evade police on the Tasman Highway. The driver of that car is still on the run.
No, we don't know who the offender is at the moment. We have a description of that offender, but we don't know his identity.
The 2 people in custody are assisting police with inquiries.
I don't know the motive behind the theft or what the intentions were with the vehicles, but certainly all vehicles were scattered around the district, one towards St Helens, Invermay, Perth and a couple in Launceston.
Inspector Darren Hopkins says he's pleased with the efforts of police, who have also managed to recover the majority of the stolen keys. Anyone with more information should contact Crime Stoppers.
Well, further to our developing story from last night, fire has destroyed a property at Lachlan in the Derwent Valley. Crews were called to the 3-storey timber hop kiln yesterday afternoon, but there was nothing they could do to save the century-old property.
This is the raging inferno that faced firefighters at rural Lachlan yesterday afternoon.
That's not even touching the side, that end.
Volunteers from across the Derwent Valley called to the scene, battling the blaze into the evening.
The building was predominantly made of timber, and apart from the brick oven kiln that you can see behind us, so we needed to stay on scene overnight just to make sure it didn't flare up and just to make sure that the occupants here were safe.
Property owner Jack LOMAX noticed smoke coming from the Oast house, named Hopgrove, shortly after 3 p.m. Calling 000 immediately, all he could do was watch from the safety of his home next door as fire crews brought the flames under control.
On the youngest part of 100 years, dry timber, nothing's going to put that out. It's like once it got a hold, it was impossible to put out.
Investigators remained at the scene throughout today, trying to determine what started the fire.
We've taken some pretty good overhead photos, which gives us a really good visual around the type of area of origin where the fire may have started, but in a building this big, it is a big area of origin, so we need to sort of work our way from the outside in.
The owner was currently renovating the century-old Oast house to turn it into accommodation. While he's sad he's lost the historical building, he says he's just grateful the fire didn't spread to his home.
What all they could do was quench it and make sure it didn't spread, and that's what they did. So yeah, it was lucky that the house was spared.
The cause of the blaze is yet to be determined. Ebony Ablett, 7 Tasmania News.
An emergency crews swarmed in the Hobart CBD this morning, responding to reports of smoke in a building on Argyle Street. The Medical Institute office block was evacuated around 11 o'clock as firefighters searched for the source. It was eventually tracked down to an overheated air conditioning unit. The start of winter has led to renewed calls for an energy supplement to aid Tasmanian households who are struggling to pay power bills. Labor says COVID-19 has already forced people to use more electricity, but the Premier insists millions of dollars are already heading to consumers.
The Premier taking a tour through Lark Distillery, opening new machinery to create much-needed hand sanitizer. Another boost to Tasmania, with more than 2 weeks of no new diagnoses and just 4 cases active only on the northwest. But as the pandemic shifts into winter, there are calls for a different kind of help for struggling Tasmanians.
And with being at home coming into the colder months comes bigger bills and bigger energy bills. And what we're calling on for the government is to issue a winter supplement, an energy supplement to assist people from dealing with the bill shock.
Well, we are already providing a supplement. The supplement's a freeze of both energy and water prices.
But Labor says capped prices and $5 million provided by Aurora Energy won't cut it.
It is about supporting people through cost of living, and this is completely within the capacity of not only our energy businesses but also the government to provide this assistance to everyday Tasmanians.
And importantly, concession customers will receive around $54 million of concessions for both water and energy on an ongoing basis, both this year and ongoing.
Meanwhile, as the state continues to move forward, Federal Group has revealed polling results from 1,000 locals, showing almost half had downloaded the COVID Safe app, previously plugged as a major factor in lifting restrictions.
The Tasmanians are taking COVID-19 seriously, and it shows the Tasmanian community and Tasmanian government that we should be comfortable in easing the restrictions and people going out into social environments again.
So I would encourage people to download the app. Doesn't put a protective bubble around you, but it will certainly help us with tracking and tracing.
The state government has flagged the easing of some restrictions by the end of the week if we continue to track well. Ruby COMMANE, 7 Tasmania News.
The Naval Association is backing the fight to award Teddy Sheehan a posthumous Victoria Cross. The long-running campaign to honour the Tasmanian for his heroism in World War II is now the subject of a petition to the Prime Minister. It comes after the federal government went against a tribunal's recommendation to award a Victoria Cross.
It's an important case, I think, for the nation because the man's bravery and valour is beyond doubt. So much so that we have a submarine that's named after him.
The petition has been signed by more than 19,000 people. The University of Tasmania is pressing ahead with its Launceston relocation despite the cloud of COVID-19. While the Hobart CBD move is on hold, it's hoped the Northern project will provide much needed work in the building sector.
You'd be hard-pressed to find a construction job with more build-up. From 2015 to 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019 and now 2020.
Well, it's fantastic to be down here today with another milestone in the UTAS redevelopment project.
Not even a global pandemic will stop the UTAS move to Inveresk. A builder has now been picked for the $21 million library.
What is an essential piece in the Northern Transformation project.
100 people are expected to work on the task. All up, it will take more than 400 people to build the new campus. Sorely needed as the construction sector suffers from a coronavirus downturn.
We know at this point in time it's extremely important that construction continues to get assistance, and this is one project that's going to help us through the next 2 to 3 years.
The whole relocation is planned for completion by 2024, and it won't be a clone of the Newnham campus.
Well, there won't be any standard lecture theatres. The idea of a stand and deliver a lecture is a thing of the past. We'll be using very, very different types of teaching spaces.
The university hopes to attract 10,000 enrolments to the campus by 2032. At the moment, 31,000 students have shifted online.
That will continue, but we slowly move back to small group gatherings, particularly where we require students to undertake laboratory work as part of their qualification.
UTAS is yet to outline the financial damage caused by the virus. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
Well, as we enter the coldest period of the COVID-19 pandemic, Launceston City Mission says donating to this year's winter appeal is more important than ever. Launching the charity drive today, the CEO is predicting an increase in people needing basic essentials over the coming months.
Meals and grocery items and food vouchers, and also just provide financial assistance to many in our community who are facing hardship at this time.
The organisation helped more than 10,000 Tasmanians in the north and northwest last year. A Parks and Wildlife Ranger has made a promising discovery in an extremely remote part of Tasmania. He found a new population of sub-Antarctic bedstraw on Macquarie Island. The plant was thought to be extinct there for 3 decades before being rediscovered in 2013. Now the plant has been sighted on another part of the island. It's seen as a positive sign vegetation is recovering after a pest eradication project targeted rabbits, rats and mice on the island. Tasmanians living with an incurable blood cancer will now have easier access to vital medication. Multiple myeloma affects around 18,000 Australians, with the average survival rate 7 years after diagnosis.
Graham Pearce was out for a bike ride when he noticed something wasn't right.
I couldn't keep up with the people I was riding with, and usually I can keep up with the people I was riding with.
The 69-year-old was so exhausted he ended up in hospital for tests. Weeks later he received a phone call telling him he could have multiple myeloma.
I'd never heard of myeloma before. I'd heard of melanoma, as most people have. And myeloma, I had to Google it.
He discovered it was the nation's 3rd most common blood cancer. There's no cure, just treatment, and doctors told Graham chemotherapy wasn't working.
I asked him what a serious reaction was. He said, "You stop breathing."
He undertook a medication trial and was soon back on his bike. It was a mixture of several drugs, and accessing them is now easier thanks to a PBS listing.
Lenalidomide, bortezomib and dexamethasone can now be given to newly diagnosed patients.
There have been advancements in treatment, and the average survival of a patient is now 7 years. Today is another small victory.
It's the first time we've been able to combine 2 of these newer drugs that work in different ways against the myeloma cell.
Graham is now in remission, happily lacing up and getting on with life.
We're going into winter, but for me, it feels like going from autumn straight into spring. It's just been an incredible weight lifted off my shoulders.
Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
The Tasmanian Tigers have bolstered the batting and bowling stocks, announcing the latest recruit for the upcoming domestic season. All-rounder Tom Andrews signing on from South Australia. He previously played 10 first-class matches for the Redbacks and scored his maiden century last year. 25-year-old hopes to play a versatile role for his new team.
This year and in the future I can be picked as a batter, potentially as a bowler, and some games if I'm obviously, happy to do both.
It follows the marquee signing of former Test paceman Peter Siddle only days ago.
Good evening. A few showers fell across the state today ahead of a cold front. Hobart, Flinders Island and Friendly Beach is our top with 17. And considering the Hobart average for June is 12, it was a pretty warm day. Launceston 13, Burnie 15 and Devonport 14 degrees. Generally, temperatures sat above average. Smithton, St Helens, Grove and Ouse all 15. King Island, Low Head and Strawn 14 and Lyoweeney 8 degrees. Low cloud over the state today, less cover over the southeast and the far northeast as well. A good part of the cloud is moving over the Tasman Sea with extensive cloud over the Bight and southeast states. High cloud is over Queensland and central Western Australia. Tomorrow the front moves off as another approaches from the southwest. A large high dominates the weather over the mainland. Winds west to southwesterly, 15 to 20 knots, up to 25 knots at times, and even 35 knots in the afternoon over the southwest. Swells to 3 to 4 metres. A gale warning from Tasman Island to Low Rocky Point, and a strong wind warning for all remaining coastal waters. Bit blowy around the coastline tomorrow. Hobart, shower or two developing and 15 also for Adventure Bay, showers for Tarraleah and 10 degrees. Launceston a high of 15 and partly cloudy, Devonport 14 and Bridport the same. Burnie tomorrow expects a top of 14 with a shower or two developing, showers for Strawn on 13, Marrawar 14 and for St Helens 15, the top mostly sunny, Swansea the same 15 also for Whitemark, but a shower or two on Flinders Island. Here's Wednesday, mostly cloudy with showers over the west, central and south, clearing in the afternoon, fine on Thursday apart from a light shower over the west, and on Friday showers extending statewide during the day. Partly cloudy in Perth tomorrow, a shower or two in Adelaide and Melbourne, a possible shower for Sydney, 17 the top, a sunny 21 in Brisbane. 10 in Hobart right now and cloudy in Launceston, partly cloudy in Devonport. It's back to Kim in her brand new, flashy, expensive olive jacket. I agree with you, Kim, it does look fantastic.
Nev, I'm glad that you're starting to learn about fashion. We'll get you there one day. That's your news for now. I'll be back later with updates. Good night.